Hi, very good morning, Gene from Avstar. He did it, guys. Can you believe it? He actually has tried to change. I don't know how well this is going to go down around the rest of the world, but he has actually signed an executive order whilst flying over the Gulf of Mexico, changed it to the Gulf of America. Right now, everyone in my social surroundings is talking about this guy's behaviour. And, obviously, me mentioning what he's getting up to has upset some people, which is good from my point of view. I've found over the decade of doing YouTube videos that it's good to clean house of the unwanted. And they're very easy to upset when you talk about things that are truthful. And in the previous video, I said that he should be, threw out of the White House. And, with his current behaviour, I think that, and people, are torn off about this topic with Donald Trump. Half like him, half don't like him. But I'll just say this to the people that like him. And, I do find him comical. I've got to say that. But obviously, come on, if we're going to get down to it, what he's coming out with is pretty ridiculous. You've got to admit that. Let's just review what he said. He was going to change the name of Gulf of Mexico to America. He did that. He's gone into USAID and, pretty much fired everybody in there. And, there was good done by USAID, and there was also a lot of corruption. And I'm not convinced that by, dismantling USAID is the right thing entirely, because now, we're sitting there listening to this, but that aid did go to, the people that needed it in some departments of the world, let's say, or some countries of the world. And, even if it was sacks of rice or grain or those sort of things, people did benefit from that charity. And, for America just to stop the charity completely is just shocking. And then, there was the tariffs, which are on pause at the moment for Canada and Mexico. He has sent, which I think is a good idea, 20,000 soldiers from the 101 regiment, I think, to protect the borders, which I think is a good thing. Nobody wants criminals in their country. So that, in my view, is okay. What I don't agree is, insulting Canadians, saying that he wants to make Canada the 51st state of America, when that is a sovereign country and they're very happy to be on their own. The other one is, we're going to take over Greenland. Like, the people that live there have no say in the matter. But I did like what the minister said of Greenland at the end of his speech. He said, and just to explain it very clearly to you, Donald Trump, in simple terms, fuck off. And I like that, because he's cheeky. We want Greenland for a military strategic base. We want to incorporate, Canada into our, all he's doing is, upsetting people pointlessly with this. And what he came out with about Gaza, again, what a joke. Like, that belongs to the Palestinians. Gaza Strip does. It's not going to be an American Riviera offshore. Donald Trump is not going to be allowed to build his Trump Towers there. And just because, the place is very much turned to rubble, it doesn't mean that people can't go back and rebuild it. If you look in your history about what happened to places like Warsaw in Poland, it was pretty much bombed to, rubble, just like the Gaza Strip. Here, even in the UK, Coventry was blitzed because they, the Luftwaffe at the time thought that they were bombing the Birmingham factory that manufactured the Spitfires, and they got it wrong, dropped the bombs a little bit too early, and literally obliterated Coventry. But we rebuild them. Coventry's now rebuilt. It's become one of the capitals of the world for university students. And, there's nothing to say that this cannot be the situation for places like Gaza and Ukraine. People don't want to lose or give up their place in which they call home. But this is a behaviour I've never seen a world leader do before. Only been in office now, short of a month. I think it's about 3 weeks. And already, shocking the world with these outbursts that largely, thinking about it, he will never be able to achieve it. He'll never be able to do anything about these things. He will not be able to put, Canada as the 51st state, because Canadians just won't simply put up with it. He won't be able to take over Greenland. And, he will not be taking any land off of Gaza, because that would be considered, I'm pretty sure, by the international community. And I know Americans think that, they don't have to respect international law. But, it's all right you thinking that as an American, but it's the rest of the world that think otherwise. That will stop it happening. Because what has happened in Gaza is nothing short of genocide. This is supportive behaviour from, a world leader in America. He supports it. He sat there discussing these things, not just on Air Force One, but he sat there a few days ago with Benjamin Netanyahu, who is wanted by the International Court. There is a warrant out for his arrest, and he's refused to respect that. And as I pointed out in the video the other day, if you're going to turn your back on international law, then where is the progression for things to get better in this world? I just want to ask you that question. If we do not respect international law, then, we do not really respect the rights for our neighbouring countries or international countries around the world. And it was a good thing that international court and tribunal was set up. It was a good thing, because it regulated, the rotters in this world that do find a way to get the power. I think I'm going to change the subject now, because I wanted to show you this. This girl, she's a blogger that has discovered a way of, getting a lot of attention by eating leftovers. And, I've become, quite a fan of the China Observer channel on YouTube. And you know me, I never push anybody else's channel, but it's quite mind-opening what is going on in one of the countries of this world where the largest population exist. Because I think if you can pay attention to what's going on in China, where the country that has one of the largest populations, shortly, if not already, has just been taken over by India, you will see what is coming down the road for us people in Western countries that haven't got to this point yet. And the simple fact is, they've got over, I think, 1 billion people in their population in China. And there's a lot of, in places like Shanghai and other places, other provinces, massive unemployment. And it's a big problem if you've got a big population and technology takes those jobs away from those people. You're going to end up with a big problem on your hands at some point, and that's what China's got right now, and it's visible through this channel. It really is. But we can use this, guys, as a crystal ball as to what is coming, and it gives us an opportunity to prepare for that. So, with AI and with the mechanisation in modern manufacturing, with robotics and actuation systems, we are going to find that there is going to be a surplus of people that don't or are not fortunate to get a job. They don't meet the criteria for benefits. or state provided benefits. And what happens is we have people like this that, you know, if you watch this last one of the last videos that China Observer put on, this was a girl that was doing trying to become an influencer, but did become an influencer because she just put her dignity aside and started to eat the leftovers in KFC. And, you know, this is quite a common practice in China now because people don't qualify for unemployment. It's quite strange watching this video, how they described unemployment. They said you've just left university to these students and therefore you've never had a job, so how can you be classified as unemployed? Because you've never been employed to start with. So the terminology is correct. You know, they've never been employed, so how can they be unemployed? But because of that, they're not qualifying for benefits, and that's why you've got young people like Xi going into restaurants, eating the leftover foods. And, you know, you've got people sleeping on the streets in vast numbers. People that have been segregated from the monetary system and had no alternative to participate in that system because the state won't help them. This, guys, is a crystal ball of what is to come to our countries. The only reason why we are not experiencing it at the levels that China are, and very soon India will experience it because of the vast numbers of people that will be poor and unemployed, will eventually come round to the pecking order of our countries. So the countries that have the least amount of residents will be the least and last affected in this global economic disaster that is taking place right now. And yes, it is a disaster because the people that was in positions to do something about this forthcoming problem have pushed it aside and never wanted to deal with it. And as a result of that now, you know, the repercussions are starting to be seen in full view. And it starts with the countries that have the largest amount of numbers and then dwindles down the pecking order to the ones that have the least. So, you know, what a disaster. You know, moving on to this guy, Canadian prepper, talking about the price of gold shooting up 15% to nearly now $3,000 an ounce. That shows you the true wealth of your banknote of your country where you're residing now. If such a small amount of gold can be worth so many of those notes, you should by now know that hyperinflation is effective and will continue to get, you know, worse as this situation goes. Don't be surprised in the near future, maybe another year and a half's time, that that's over £4,000 an ounce or $4,000 an ounce. You know, that's where we're heading, and it will be because it won't U-turn, guys. It will not U-turn because nobody's interested in, you know, addressing the real elephant in the room. And that elephant in the room is, if you are to become, you know, a world of modern technology, actuation, robotics and artificial intelligence, and not have a system in place so that people can still participate in a monetary system, either, you know, through universal benefits or an employment position, then, you know, what we're going to see is more of this that we're seeing in China. It will get worse from this point on out. It already is bad in the UK. It's, you know, the leaving rate of adults from their parents' home is over 35. So your kids will be with you for 35 years before they leave. And as we go down this road, it will get to 40 and 45. And we're going to start seeing some other things as well come back that we haven't seen for a couple of hundred years, at least going back to the Edwardians or Victorians in this country. And that is where, you know, everybody in the household has to work in the family and has to put all their money on the table when they get paid, and that will just about pay for a small amount of food and, you know, the roof over their head. And we're already starting to see people trying to cheat the system at the moment by, you know, converting four-wheel drives. I'm not joking, guys. This is in the UK right now. Converting four-wheel drives, putting a small mattress in there, and, you know, a small kitchen, and they're living in the cars. And I know if you're in America, you have seen this yourselves. And they are banning, like, you know, recreational vehicles in a lot of states because of the problem of people, instead of renting homes and living in communities in houses, they are now renting or buying themselves a van, converting it into, you know, a mobile living accommodation, and they're living, you know, without having to pay the rent, which is one of the biggest problems here in the UK and in the West and in other countries. Property is not affordable for people, and a lot of people here in the UK, for instance, are suffering because they are on, you know, a minimum paid job, and they live on their own, but they can't afford to, you know, rent a property, pay for all the bills, pay for the food, pay for the transportation, and survive, because there isn't enough money in the month for them to do that. So this is a problem that is going to continuously get worse, and by, you know, watching countries like China gives us a good vantage point as to what is coming. But this is definitely coming. You are going to see, and I have seen this here in the UK, people going through bins looking for food. You know, the worst case, and one of the very first times I came across this was when I was in Gran Canaria, and I think, you know, this was one of the countries that was having problems in paying back, what's it called? Anyhow, it was the monetary system that looked after, I think it's the EMI, International Monetary Fund. I think it was AMF or whatever, something like that. And, you know, they had foreclosed on the residents of Gran Canaria and a lot of other countries on the people's pensions. And I saw these people living on top of, you know, 4 or 5 story buildings on the roof in a makeshift shack that they'd built. And in the daytime, I saw the pensioners, the elderly, going round looking through the bins for food. How can we do that to people that have put into the system the majority of their life in any country? How can we neglect the elderly in any country and allow this sort of thing to happen? But this is, you know, something that, you know, you are going to become accustomed to seeing globally. You know, I see it in America, I see it here in the UK. The pensioners can't afford to retire because they thought they had enough, they'd saved enough. You know, they got scammed out of their pensions. It's happened to a few of my friends. A couple of my friends I was talking to a few months ago, I think I mentioned it once already. They work for a big car manufacturing company here in the UK. In fact, I'll tell you, it was Jaguar Land Rover. One of them had lost £500,000 of his pension, and the other one had lost about £300,000 of his pension. And both of them were planning on retiring and sitting back and enjoying that benefit. But the company that was managing the pension went bankrupt and took all their money with them. But we see this happening way too much. You know, if we go back to, and I'm sure if you're here in the UK, you will remember Maxwell falling off the back of his yacht, which I don't believe happened. But, you know, if the person's dead or missing, then how can you take him to court and get that money? And that's exactly what I think happened. You know, he vanished. New identity, somewhere else in the world, still enjoying, you know, the money that he took off the people that had pensions with him. And that's exactly what's happened at Jaguar Land Rover. How the company never got burnt down to the ground. I did say that to my friends. I said, how come you never burnt that fucking factory down after that? You work, and they literally did work all their lives. One of them worked there for 30 years. Another one, 25 years. You know, they put big chunks of their life into that factory. And for them to do that was just disgraceful. And now they can't retire. Now they've just got to, you know, which they do, and they are doing, they've just sucked it up and said, okay, we've got to carry on and continue on in life, because otherwise what else are we going to do? You know, cut our wrists, you know, jump off the platform as a train's coming. You know, life still goes on. So, you know, I wanted to share some of these things with you guys. You know, these are outrageous times. You know, with what President Trump is coming out with is unbelievable. How he's not been impeached, how he's not going to be thrown out of the White House, because I believe that this rampage he's on is not going to end anytime soon. We're going to hear more bizarre things come from, you know, a world leader like him, and we are going to see more of this, of people eating scraps and leftovers and going through the bin and building makeshift homes, whether it's in cars or shacks in the forest. We're going to see more of this, because the real elephant has not been addressed. And I've been saying this for a decade now. So with that, you know, the only thing I can say to you guys is, you know, do your best, but plan for the worst, because it surely is coming. And all we have to do is watch countries with the largest populations react to this modern situation, which is happening right now around the world. It's happening in every country around the world, and we know, because they've got a larger population than anybody else, that they will go through this twice as fast and twice as hard as any other country. But the reason why, you know, I say to you, listen to what this person's saying, these vloggers on this channel, because it gives you an opportunity to look into that crystal ball of what is coming at an alarming rate, and has not yet even deviated off course. It's going to be a direct hit on all of us, this will. So with that, you know, enjoy the rest of your day. Try and keep your chin up. As always, bye for now.